The champagne glass slipped from Elena's trembling fingers, shattering against the marble floor of the grand ballroom. Around her, designer gowns and tuxedos turned in unison, but she barely noticed the collective gasp or the elegant whispers that followed. Her entire world had narrowed to the small boy standing 20 feet away, his dark eyes wide with recognition, as he pointed directly at her with a trembling finger. "Mommy!" he cried out, his voice cutting through the sophisticated murmur of conversation, like a knife through silk. Elena's heart stopped. She had never seen this child before in her life. 3 hours earlier, Elena Martinez had stood in her cramped studio apartment, staring at the charity gala invitation that had arrived by mistake, clearly, meant for the previous tenant. The elegant cardstock felt foreign in her calloused hands, hands that knew the weight of double shifts at the diner and late nights studying for her nursing degree. The invitation promised an evening of transforming lives through generosity at the Pemberton Foundation's annual fundraiser, where tickets cost more than she made in 3 months. She should have thrown it away, should have returned to her textbooks and the stack of medical bills from her younger brother's cancer treatment that threatened to swallow her whole. Instead, something whispered that she belonged there, that maybe, just maybe, the universe had placed this opportunity in her path for a reason. Elena had borrowed a simple black dress from her co-worker, spent her last $20 on a pair of shoes from a thrift store, and walked 40 minutes across the city because she couldn't afford cab fare. She told herself she would stay just long enough to see how the wealthy lived, to understand what true generosity looked like before returning to her world of survival and sacrifice. The Pemberton Hotel's ballroom was a cathedral of crystal chandeliers and marble columns, where champagne flowed like water and the air itself seemed perfumed with possibility. Elena moved through the crowd like a ghost, observing conversations about summer homes in the Hamptons and European art collections, while she mentally calculated how many of her brother's chemotherapy sessions could be funded by a single woman's diamond necklace. She had been admiring a silent auction display a week in Tuscany that would change someone's Instagram feed while her brother fought for his life when she heard the commotion near the main entrance. "Where is he?" "David, where did he go?" A man's voice, sharp with panic, cut through the classical music. Elena turned to see Marcus Pemberton himself, the billionaire whose foundation hosted tonight's event, frantically scanning the crowd. His usually composed demeanor had cracked, revealing the desperate father beneath the polished exterior. Beside him stood his wife Catherine, her face pale as marble, clutching a security guard's arm. "He was right here," Catherine whispered. "He was holding my hand, and then—" "He's 6 years old," Marcus said, his voice rising. "He doesn't know anyone here. He could be anywhere in the hotel." Elena's nursing instincts kicked in before her common sense could intervene. She approached the family, her voice gentle but firm. "Excuse me, I couldn't help but overhear." "I can help look for him." Marcus barely glanced at her. "The security team is handling it." "Thank you." But Elena had already started moving, her eyes scanning the room with the systematic precision she'd learned in pediatric rotations. Children didn't just vanish, they went somewhere that felt safe, somewhere that reminded them of comfort. Her gaze swept past the auction tables, past the networking circles, until she spotted a service corridor, partially hidden behind an elaborate flower arrangement. She found him there, little David Pemberton, sitting on the floor beside a housekeeping cart, tears streaming down his cheeks as he clutched a small stuffed elephant. He looked up as Elena approached, and something passed between them, a recognition that transcended explanation. "Hey there, sweetheart," Elena whispered, kneeling down to his level. "Are you okay?" David nodded, then shook his head, then buried his face in the elephant's worn fur. "I got lost," he whispered. "I was looking for my mommy, but she's not here anymore." Elena's heart clenched. "What do you mean, honey? Your mommy and daddy are looking for you right now." "No," David said with the devastating clarity only children possess. "My real mommy. She died when I was little. Daddy married Catherine, and she's nice, but she's not my mommy." The pieces fell into place with heartbreaking precision. Elena reached for the boy, and he came willingly into her arms, as if he'd been waiting for her his entire life. "I know, sweetheart," she whispered, rocking him gently. I know it hurts. You smell like my mommy did, David said against her shoulder. Like flowers and something else. Something warm. Elena closed her eyes, thinking of her own mother who had died when she was barely older than David, leaving her to raise her younger brother alone. What was your mommy like? She read me stories every night, and she sang to me when I had bad dreams, and she always said that love doesn't die, it just changes shape. David pulled back to look at her with those impossibly wise eyes. Are you love that changed shape? Before Elena could answer, she heard footsteps in the corridor. Marcus appeared first, his face transforming from panic to relief to confusion, as he saw his son in the arms of a stranger. David, thank God! He rushed forward, then stopped short as David turned in Elena's arms. Daddy, this is my mommy, David said with perfect 6-year-old logic. She found me. The silence stretched between them like a bridge neither adult knew how to cross. Elena started to stand to explain, to apologize for the confusion, but Marcus's expression stopped her. He wasn't looking at her with suspicion or anger. He was looking at her with wonder. You have Maria's eyes, he whispered, and Elena's breath caught. My first wife? David's biological mother. The same kindness, the same presence. Catherine appeared behind him, and instead of jealousy or confusion, her face showed only gratitude. You found him. He found me, Elena corrected softly, still holding David, who seemed reluctant to let her go. No, David said with the stubborn certainty of childhood. You found each other, like puzzle pieces. Later, as the gala continued around them, Elena learned that Marcus had been drowning in guilt since his wife, Maria's death 3 years earlier. He'd thrown himself into work and charity, believing that giving away money could somehow balance the cosmic scales that had taken his son's mother. Catherine, his new wife, was kind and patient, but David had never fully accepted her, always searching for something, someone he couldn't name. He's been asking for his real mommy to come back, Marcus explained as they sat in his private office above the ballroom. Our therapist said it was normal grief processing, but tonight he thought his prayers had been answered, Elena finished gently. David had fallen asleep in Elena's lap, his small hand clutched around hers. She looked down at him and saw her own childhood longing, reflected back the desperate wish for someone to choose you, to see you as worth keeping. I should go, Elena whispered. This isn't my world, isn't it? Marcus asked. You walked into a room full of people trying to buy their way to heaven, and you found the one person who needed saving. I'm nobody special. I'm a nursing student who works at a diner. I came here by accident. Did you? Catherine spoke for the first time, her voice thoughtful. Or did you come here because sometimes the universe knows what a family needs before they do? Elena looked between them. These people who should have been strangers but felt like coming home. I don't understand. Marcus leaned forward, his billionaire's composure completely abandoned. My foundation gives money to causes around the world, but we've never given where it matters most. Right here, right now, to the people in front of us. You're studying nursing? Elena nodded, suddenly self-conscious about her borrowed dress and thrift store shoes. David needs consistency. He needs someone who sees him, really sees him. And you, Marcus paused, looking at his sleeping son. You need a family that chooses you back. I can't accept charity, Elena said quickly. I work for what I have. This isn't charity, Catherine said softly. This is David choosing his family. He's never done that before. 3 months later, Elena walked across the stage to receive her nursing degree, Marcus and Catherine cheering from the audience while David held a sign that read, My mommy the nurse in crayon letters. Her brother sat beside them, healthy and laughing, his treatment fully funded by the family that had adopted Elena as completely as she had adopted them. The Pemberton Foundation had quietly established a new program, Emergency Assistance for students like Elena, young people carrying impossible burdens with grace and determination. But their most important work happened in the quiet moments. Bedtime stories and scraped knee kisses, homework help and mother-son adventures. Elena learned that love doesn't always look like what we expect. Sometimes it looks like a 6-year-old boy recognizing your soul across a crowded ballroom. Sometimes it looks like billionaires discovering that the most important charity happens in your own home. Sometimes it looks like walking into the wrong room and finding exactly where you belong. David never stopped calling her mommy, and Elena never stopped being amazed that the greatest love of her life had found her in the place she least expected, surrounded by people she thought she had nothing in common with, discovering that kindness speaks every language and recognizes no boundaries. The charity dinner had raised $2 million that night, but in the service corridor beside a housekeeping cart, holding a lost boy who smelled like hope and possibility, Elena had received something worth infinitely more. Proof that sometimes when you think you're saving someone else, they're actually saving you.